another UnTech video. It's October 10th, 2018. It's been a bit. It's been a bit busy over here, but we are back to show you a step-by-step on how to scrape Loan Depot. Part of sort of the financial scraping series that we're doing over here, changing it up once a week. And this is going to be a little bit more on the technical side. It's going to require a couple of different steps, but we're going to demonstrate a couple of things. One about pulling multiple URLs, about putting multiple URLs into Web Scraper, and then designing your map around those multiple URLs. So this is sort of what sparked it all, right? It's a giant web page, tons of information, name, title, email address, phone number, and when you start looking through this page, you see it's somewhat organized by the specific branch. So it wasn't really a way to crawl through this, right? I mean, you could put in a location, and it'll list a couple of different branches, but there was no way to list them all and then create something that would paginate through every single location. So we took a different approach to it, right? And in shout outs to Sourcing in Real Life and shout outs to Greg, we took a page out of one of his old articles and we took a look at their robots.txt, right? So loandepot.com, robots.txt, and it led us to this, which is a sitemap index, right? So we loaded up the sitemap index, and I noticed it contained a few other sitemap indexes, in which case I saw that it contained sitemap index of loan officers. So we went to that, and bam. Looks like every single URL for each one of the different regions. And what we needed to do is extract it out of here, which is pretty easy. Was able to cut and paste it into this free web page, URL extractor from web pages and text, convert csv.com, URL extractor.htm. It's fairly easy from that point forward. We were able to paste it in here. It took out all the URLs, and we extracted it to an Excel file. I'm just gonna bring that one up. Okay, so now we have our Excel file, which looks to be pretty big, right? About 1,129 URLs, all broken down by the office locations. So what we had to do next is format this so we could go into JSON format, which is what Web Scraper uses, right? So this is a little bit of Excel manipulation here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to choose a cell and put quotation marks in it. Doesn't matter where it is, just not on our main line. And what I'm going to do is write a simple formula that's going to take this quotation mark, pressing F4 to lock it in to make it absolute. It's going to take this line. Oh, let's start that over there. So there we go. So it's going to take the exclamation point, and it's going to take this, and it's going to take the quotation marks again, and we're going to top it all off. Oh, remember to make the quotation marks absolute, and we're going to top it all off by putting a comma at the end. Hit enter. So now we have that basic string surrounded in quotes with a comma at the end, and we're simply going to copy it down, right? So there we go. We have everything we need here. And that's going to be really the first part we're going to look to do. So the next thing we need to do is move this from a format where you have each URL on one line into a more compressed format, right? We want to take out the lines. To do that, I'm going to copy it into Sublime Text Editor, which is a free text editor you can get anywhere. I'm going to paste it, and it looks pretty much like it did in the Excel spreadsheet. Now I'm going to use a function here, find and replace, which is Control H on your keyboard, and it has this ability to use regular expressions or regex, and in this case I'm using /s, which is identifying all the spaces, and I'm going to replace those spaces with nothing. So I'm going to replace all, and there you go. You have everything in a line right over there. Now the second part we're going to need to do is take that information and surround it by how Web Scraper positions their JSON, right? So this is pretty easy to do. What we're going to do is go to inspect to get into Web Scraper IO, And we're going to create a new sitemap just to see what it looks like. We're going to name it test, and we're going to add 2 URLs, right? We're going to add anyone. We're going to add hello.com. It doesn't like that. We're going to add it formally. And we're going to click the plus right over here, and we're going to add a secondary URL, and we're going to say com, and we're going to create the sitemap. And we're going to find out that it actually wants it formally written. Okay, so let's do that. HTTP. There we go. Let's use google.com, and let's make this second one, I don't know, google.edu. Create sitemap. Perfect. Now we're going to go right to sitemap and export sitemap, right? Because all I'm interested in is this little code over here. I'm going to copy that and I'm going to load up Notepad for a second just so we could see it front and center. So the first line we're not gonna mess around with right now, but what's interesting and what we're looking at is between these 2 brackets is where it's getting the URLs to go to. So we're gonna separate that, and we're gonna separate those 2 brackets, right? So everything has to go between those. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna then import that into our giant list of sitemaps, right? So the first piece, and I'm just, you know what, let me do it on one screen so you guys can see it. So I'm literally just going to copy this line, and I'm going to preempt it over here. Perfect. Now I'm going to go to that second line, and that has to come after this. So I'm going to go down to the very bottom of this. I'm going to get rid of that last comma. We don't need it. I'm going to paste that. Boom, there we are. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to copy all of it. Control A, let's see, Control A, Control C, and let's get this off the screen now that I have that copied. And I'm going to go back into where we were beforehand, except this time I just want to import my sitemap. And I'm going to paste that whole string there. Turns green, so I know I did something right. I'm going to rename it. I'm going to rename it temp Loan Depot scrape. I'm going to import the sitemap. And there we go. Now we're exactly where we need to be here. And what we want to start with is any of the links that we had before, right? So I just want to load up any of these. So just at random, I'm going to pick, let's see, I'm going to pick this one. I'm going to cut and paste it and put it in here. And this is where we're going to build our initial sitemap from. And now is the time when we're going to have some fun. So since we already imported the URLs, it's actually going to load up all the loan officer pages one by one. So we just have to tell it what we want on each page. So I'm going to start by adding a selector, and we want a text. And we'll start with his name. We're going to call that name. Now we don't need multiple because it's only one, so we're just going to save it. And we're going to add another one for his title. Done. Let's call that title. And we'll test these to make sure they work. We're going to add another one, and we're going to call it his NMLS number. I'm going to save that too. Now what I'm doing is I'm just sort of hovering over these buttons to see if this actually is linking back to anything of his. And what's ironic is LinkedIn is linking back to his. YouTube, I can't tell. Twitter looks like it's going to a default Twitter account for Loan Depot, so we don't want that. Facebook, that looks like his. We're not going to worry about Google Plus at the moment. And Instagram is not his. Let's just test that out for a second. Let's click on the Facebook link. All right. Interesting. Interesting. So it's not actually his Facebook. It's linking to his Facebook company page or his version of that. Let's see if LinkedIn follows the same sort of pattern. All right. LinkedIn seems to work. So that's good. So his LinkedIn is legit. Twitter isn't. Facebook isn't. Instagram isn't. I don't imagine he has his own YouTube page. Let's check it out. No. No, we don't need that at all. Let's see a little less what we get here. We get his bio, address, phone number, cell phone number, and an email address. Scrolling down, doesn't seem like there's anything else that we want on this page. So let's go up and let's continue down it. Let's start by selecting his address. Now I see its address, A purple, so I'm good there. We'd be concerned if it was linking to just a certain element, like element 1 or 2 or 3 or nth of, because there would be a possibility those elements would change each page. But this seems pretty legit. Let's just test it. Yeah, I like it. Exactly what I want. Let's add another one. Let's go for his phone number. Let's make sure that works. Yep, that works well. In that case, that looks like maybe a direct dial, right? Direct phone. Let's call it direct phone. Let's save it. And we're gonna do the same thing for every other one, right? Let's grab his mobile. Let's save it. And I don't care about his fax number, but I'm just going to go for his email address. Now that can be tricky. So let's see what it is. All right, looks like it works here. So we're going to call it email. Save. And just for fun, we'll get his bio. You know what? If we hit P, it'll expand to all of it. I don't know if we want all this license number, but let me pull it out here just so we have it. Right? Maybe in the future we'd want to separate that out, but in this case, it's really of no interest to me. If you wanted to separate it out, it looks like it's a separate element to in itself, so you can looks like the whole string is state licenses, so yeah, we'll make that a separate one just for fun. Now the harder part, let's see if we can't grab his LinkedIn and some of the other ones, right? So we're gonna use element attribute here, and I'm gonna select the LinkedIn, and I'm gonna put it as href, and it does indeed get his LinkedIn. However, there's another thing that we're gonna want. Because as you see, if you take a look at this element, it's pointing to a generic social media button nth of type, which means there's many other social media buttons, nth of type 1, nth of type 2, nth of type 3, so on and so forth. And I don't know whether LinkedIn maintains its absolute position, or if LinkedIn is the first on another profile, which I don't really like. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get rid of that nth of type. And I'm going to insert this qualifier, which is going to say, grab the link, but only when the href contains the word LinkedIn. And let me element preview here. Let's see if it's going to work for us. Which it is not, because we have a colon there. All right, so there it is, and it's only highlighting the LinkedIn. It's tied to the href. We're going to call it LinkedIn. And I'm going to copy this since it's the same for all of them. Save myself some steps. Let me data test it. Perfect. Got exactly what we want. Save it. And if I wanted to do the same thing for all his other ones, I could do that as well. As you know, Twitter isn't something we want. Either is Instagram. Let's say we wanted Google Plus, because that's going to be around for a while. We would do the same thing, right? So element attribute, We're going to paste this in. But I'm actually going to change this to Google, right? And not LinkedIn. And I'm going to do href here. I'm going to test it by doing element preview. We see it lights up over here. Data preview. Look at that. His Google Plus page, which is actually the company's Google Plus page. So that's actually kind of pointless. I'm going to delete that. Let's see. Anything else we need? No. If we want to do the same thing with Facebook, if you thought that would be helpful, we do the same thing, right? So element attribute, paste this here instead of LinkedIn. Let's link it to Facebook, end the quotes, close the brackets, element preview to see Facebook lights up. Let's call it Facebook. And link it to href, which is the hyperlink, and then save it. So we're good to go here. What I normally want to do is test out a couple of the other hyperlinks that we have to make sure that everything is on the same place. So just to make it easier, I'm going to view his branch and see if there's anyone else as part of his branch, and there are. Let's check out Mary Bain, just to make sure there's some consistencies here, right? So let's see if everything works if we run through it. Name, lights up. Title, good. That works. Address, phone, no mobile phone here, so that's not going to light up. Email address, good. Bio, good. Just the licenses. Let's see. There we go. And we did LinkedIn and Facebook, so let's scroll up to the top here. Facebook, LinkedIn, we'll test it, make sure it's still working. It is. So we're good to go. Obviously, we'd take a look to see if there's any additional information she puts on her page, and she doesn't. Looks like we're good to go. So what we're going to do is run it. Scrape. Page delays, that you're going to adjust on the fly. If it's turning pages too quickly, if it's hitting captchas, if it's not getting elements, you're going to increase that. For right now, I think 2000 the default is fine. So I'm going to start scraping. Now, I'm going to leave this window open for a second so you could see sort of what's happening on the sides. It is literally going to go from profile to profile, scraping it. And as it's scraping, I'm kind of keeping an eye to it to make sure there aren't any additional elements that we didn't know existed but may want to capture. For instance, she had an email me, which is pretty interesting. That wasn't on any of the other ones. I wonder if that's actually going to screw up the scrape. And I wonder if that's a result of me scraping too much. So let me X out right here. That's going to stop it. And let's refresh it here to see what we're getting. So we're getting the bios. The email addresses seem like they're coming. The phone numbers, that all looks good. What are we not getting? We have some nulls down there. What are they? Null, null, null. On W Ward. Didn't get a name, didn't get a title, didn't get a branch. So let's see what this is. Let's test out why that happened. Let's just load this up real quick. So W Ward loads up nothing. It actually goes back to this grant pass. My guess, no longer works there. But everything else looks pretty legit. Phone numbers are getting consistently when they're available, except for Mr. Ward. Emails, bios, titles, LinkedIn and Facebooks. Interesting. Sometimes it defaults to their default LinkedIn, like their company LinkedIn. So I imagine when they have one, it's linked up, when not. So we're pretty good. We're scraping pretty well there. So we're going to go ahead and kick this off. Scrape. We're going to drop this down to 1,000. Let's see if that works. Let's see if we could speed it up a little bit. I'm going to keep this window open right over here so you guys can see what's going on. Just going a little bit quicker, but doesn't seem to be too quick. And I'm going to pause it right here. And now through the magic of pause, you get your data pumped out. I put into a Google Sheets. I'll make the link available in the description of this video. And it looks like we got about 800 lines in total. Made it look a little nicer, but here you see name, title, phone, email, their NMLS number, their cell phone, their address, the state, which I separated out, which you'll also find in the full address, and their bio, which I just extended outwards to look a little bit prettier. Actually, I could probably put this near here, and that's how we'd go about scraping it. So pretty easy. It sort of runs in the background. Actually, it looks like it's still running in the background. Let me kill this. And, you know, depending on how many we scrape, it'll come out into a nice CSV file, which is great. And that's how we scrape it. Thanks, guys, for checking this out.